At World Youth Day in Lisbon, our Lord Jesus and the Blessed Sacrament is getting about as much respect as the 4,800 children abused by clergy in Portugal. Joining us with the latest from the Eternal City Church Militant Rome correspondent, Dr. Jules Gomes. Jules, let's start with yesterday's opening Mass at World Youth Day in Portugal. Hundreds of bishops in attendance and almost none helping with distribution of our Lord to the few 100,000 young people in attendance. Your thoughts?
Brad, the video of what has happened yesterday in terms of the irreverence displayed to our Lord in the Holy Eucharist has provoked scandal among Catholics online. And even as we speak, this morning, Pope Francis left Rome and flew to Portugal, where he landed, was met by the President of Portugal. Now, if you see the decorum, the reverence, the order, the dignity displayed to the Holy Father in that motorcade and in his whole, transit from Rome to Portugal, and you compare that to the irreverence and the disrespect shown to our Lord Jesus Christ, the living God who created heaven and earth. The dissonance is massive. If we can show so much respect to a human being, how much more respect and reverence should we show to the God who created heaven and earth?
Yeah, so many bishops there in attendance, hundreds and hundreds, and yet we have all these extraordinary ministers of the Eucharist. They can be authorized, but clerics present, bishops, priests, even deacons are to be in the front lines distributing Holy Communion and not taking a back seat to all that, taking our Lord to the peripheries of the crowd and going out and smelling like the sheep. What message do you think this sends to the youth when the bishops are sitting down and lay distributors, lay Eucharistic ministers are out there taking our Lord to the people?
First of all, it sends the message that the ordained priesthood is redundant. We don't need priests. We can all do it ourselves. Secondly, I've repeated this over the last many years. Form and content go together. If you hear a waltz being played, you're expected to engage in a romantic dance. If a military march is being played, it stirs up patriotic feelings in you. But if our blessed Lord is treated in such a flippant manner, the distribution is almost like toffees or sweets being distributed. And I was watching the video. In some cases, people didn't even know what they were receiving or how to receive or whether they should consume the Holy Sacrament, while they are standing there. And the lay minister, the extraordinary minister, so-called, had to actually instruct the person how to receive, to consume the sacrament on the spot. So this is appalling and clearly should not have happened. I served as an Anglican priest for 25 years, as you know, and not once in the Church of England have I ever seen a lay minister distribute Holy Communion, distribute the body, the bread, and I just don't know what to make of it.
Now, there's another whole story behind this story. There's a lingering cloud of clergy sex abuse hanging over Portugal. Less than 6 months ago, there was a huge billboard just went up overnight in Lisbon, just hours before Francis arrived. And its purpose was to raise awareness of the nearly 5,000 sex abuse victims, clergy sex abuse victims that are still awaiting justice. And this, can you catch our viewers up on the background to this epic story and exactly who put up the billboard?
Right. In February this year, there was an independent commission which reported on clergy sex abuse in Portugal, and they concluded that 4,800 children had been abused by priests since 1950. Now, what is very interesting, and this confirms what Church Militant has been reporting for years, the number of adolescent males abused was significantly higher than the number of minor females, which means, of course, that many of the priests in Portugal as well, the abuser priests, were homosexual. We also know that of the males abused, 23% of the males were abused in seminaries, and then 18% of the victims were abused in churches, 14% in the confessional, 12% in rectories. Now, Brad, a group of people who are concerned about the bishop's response and have seen that the bishops don't really seem to be moving and acting on this report. They crowdfunded, and in a day and a half, they raised about 2,226 euros. And they commissioned 3 massive billboards to be put up in 3 different cities in Portugal. One, of course, will be the capital, Lisbon, to draw the attention of people who come to the world today to this massive crisis, particularly focus this on the youth, because in the vast number of cases, it is young people between 11 and 14 who were abused.
So this report comes out about less than 6 months ago. What action has been taken by the bishops in Portugal and by the Vatican, for that matter, to bring justice to the victims?
Well, the bishops have been sleepwalking, and that is what is most disturbing. That is what has really irked the faithful in Portugal. And I mean, somebody, hugely respected, a psychiatrist by the name of Pedro Stret, was appointed to head this commission. The commission slogged and investigated the whole matter intensively. A very, very meticulous report was produced. I've been through some parts of the report. And at the end of the day, it seems like the whole thing was a waste of time. The observers also tell us that while many other countries have taken significant steps to put what we call safeguarding in place, the Portuguese church is perhaps the last, lagging behind everybody else in the world, or at least in the Western world, in terms of putting safeguarding measures in place.
Now, while Pope Francis is in Portugal for World Youth Days, does he have any plans to visit with the massive number of victims?
There was a huge pressure from victims beseeching the Pope for a meeting. But the Vatican consistently refused to let that happen, and now in fact, that is one reason why these billboards have been erected. The Pope has compromised now to some extent, and he says he will meet victims in private. But where, when, how, all that is going to happen, are the media going to be allowed access to this? We just don't know.
Well, finally here, Jules, just your own gut reaction here. Why do you think Pope Francis is so silent about this problem? Why hasn't he been, on the bullhorn saying, hey, Portugal, fix this problem? Hey, I'm going to be out meeting with the victims. I want, a conference with them, public conference and all that, especially given his outspoken stance of zero tolerance?
Brad, that is a very interesting question. In fact, people are saying because Catholicism in Portugal is currently in crisis, there are 80% of the Portuguese call themselves Catholics, but only 19% go to church and receive the sacraments on a regular basis. Moreover, evangelical churches are, drawing dissatisfied Catholics to their own groups, and they are growing massively. So why is the Pope not responding when he has such a glorious opportunity? Well, the answer is probably that he does not want to take the focus of a World Youth Day. He knows that if he meets victims publicly, the media is immediately going to focus on that. But in any case, having said that, the media is focusing on the sex abuse crisis as Pope Francis visits Portugal. So he's not succeeded in that. The other aspect is he does not think it would be appropriate to scandalize young people by talking about, the horrendous things their pastors have done over the last 50 or so decades in Portugal, and therefore thinks it's wise to avoid the issue altogether. But thirdly, he wants the focus to be on his own agenda, which is dialogue, fraternity with other religions, climate change, and he wants to send the youth away fired with that particular message. And if the youth see there are clearly double standards here, the church can't even protect young people, let alone protecting the planet. What are they going to take home? And that is why he's playing this very, very low.
Well, at any rate, it's deplorable that hundreds of bishops present for World Youth Day didn't take our Lord out into the crowd and smell like the sheep, as Pope Francis would say. And from the point of view of Portugal's victims of clergy sex abuse, they're not being treated any better by the bishops than is our Eucharistic Lord. Please pray for the victims that they will soon see justice done. Also offer prayers of reparation for disrespect shown to our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. And finally, pray that bishops step up and protect both from future abuse. Jules, thank you so much for breaking down both these stories for us.
Thank you, Brad.